Brick Bloggeteers, Will here, and today we're looking at a very special set 910015 from the BrickLink Designer Studios, the Clockwork Aquarium. Now, like with all the BrickLink Designer Studios, all they give you is one page that has a QR code and an address to go to the link where you can actually find a PDF version of the instructions, as well as use their Designer Studio app in order to build the set. Now, the set surprised me because it said it was a 4-in-1. So I just told my wife, find the one you like the best and we'll build that one, because I'm not gonna build it 4 times. To my surprise, not only do they give you all the parts you need to build it in the way you want, but they also give you parts for each of the other backgrounds, as well as the parts and mechanisms for fish at different heights, as well as the little boat, including the middle areas for mechanisms. And you can kind of see with this mechanism where it pushes up and down so the cracking goes up and down. The same works for the crab. So it hops up and down. Actually, I think it goes this way. So you can even mix and match and get even more out of these 4 sets and have much more. But since I have one of them built, let's take a closer look before we move on to each of them. The crank is on the side, and it's actually designed so that you can't turn it the wrong way, because if you turn it the wrong way, then the fish would swim backwards. So it has a guard inside in the lower mechanism, so it'll only turn the correct way. But the fish will swim round and round, and the middle section of each of these will have some sort of mechanism that moves up and down. Of course, this one is the little treasure chest. This is the one that I found did kind of stick a little bit. So sometimes it could get stuck in the up position. The weirdest thing about this set is on the side opposite the crank, there's a little clip. They never use that for anything. I'm not sure why it's there. To make the cabinets a little bit more interesting, they do open up, so you can actually see a few little kind of bottles that are help to keep the pH balance of your aquarium, maybe some fish food, a bucket. And behind all that, deep in there, you can kind of see the belt mechanism for what moves the fish around. Now, to give you an idea what it looks on the back side, in case you're putting it in the middle, that is how this one looks. Each of them don't look terrible, but it's really made to look a certain way from one of the front 3 sides. Now, to make the exchange easier between the different models, it's built around a very modular style. So you will never mess with this bottom gearing cabinetry. Instead, what you'll mess with is this top ring that comes off, then the glass section. Just make sure not to get any fish. And that will also mean you change what's lining the interior. And in one of the designs, you'll actually turn this into a semi-open aquarium. And then the back pops straight off. And then when you're ready, you can pick whichever one you want, add it in, and then start building everything around it. So let's move on to the next one. So here we have the second build. It features the jumping crab, and as you can see, it moves a lot smoother than the chest that kind of got stuck. It has a little octopus on one side, actually a castle helmet on the other side. In the background, there is a pillar from a sunken ruins, as well as a shell, some coral pieces. The interior of the glass also got changed. Instead of having the gold coins, it now moves on to colored flowers. And speaking of colors, all the fish have been recolored to be 3 different colors. So you got a completely different looking aquarium. And here's the back side. This one is a more flush background, so it doesn't stick out like the previous one did. But otherwise, the cabinetry on the very top and the bottom stay the same. Then we can move on to the next one. All right, this is the third build. The difference from this one and the second build is just the background. So you actually keep the same fish, the same interior, even little flowers that decorate the inside of the glass are all the same. As you can tell from the back, it actually sticks out a little bit further. It's not as flush as the previous one. So this one's probably the easiest to swap between the two, because you'll just remove the top, remove the glass, swap the back, put it all back together, you're done. Now, the most extreme one is the fourth one, because that's where we actually move on to a semi-open aquarium. And finally, here is build number 4. As you can see, it only comes partway up before it has the open area, so that you can actually have a little floating boat with the fish much lower down under the water and the little cracking, popping up and down. This one has the most to rebuild, because you actually have to remove a lot of the glass sections, rebuild all these panels around, and add in a few extra little plates underneath in different spots. It's probably one of my favorites now that I've built all of them. As you can see, this one is a little bit different than the other ones. It's not fully out, but it's not fully in. It's kind of halfway. That way it has that whole step look to have a 3-dimensional background on the back side. And as you can see, when you remove this top layer, it's very, very open in that respect. But those are the 4 builds for the Clockwork Aquarium. Again, it's set 910015. It's not a set that you can easily get to, since I don't think they even made 10,000 copies of this one, since it didn't get fully funded. But it is one of the smaller piece count wise of the Designer Studio sets. So if any of these builds seem interesting to you, check out the instructions. Maybe you have the parts you need, because nothing in here was remarkably unique. I mean, maybe the color of the fish, if you even care about that. Most of these things seemed fairly basic. There was maybe 1 or 2 Technic pieces that I thought might not be that common. But there's plenty of ways to work around those things. So if any of that seems good to you, check it out. Maybe you can parts build it. Again, this is the Clockwork Aquarium.